Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I'm doing a penetration test. I haven't done this in I think several years, I think maybe 4 or 5 years. But I did a video 4 or 5 years ago where I had lined up I think something like 7 barrels, 15 feet apart, okay, and I shot them with different types of guns, different types of ammunition. Basically what I found is that the 223 out of a 6-inch AR was able to penetrate 3 of these barrels, okay, 3 of them, and by the time it got to the third one, the bullet, right, the 55 grain bullet had completely like dusted, okay, it had completely broken up. When I shot it with the 9mm carbine, right, 16-inch barrel, that went 4 barrels, okay? That went, and not only that, not only did it go 4 barrels, but in the 4th barrel, I was actually able to recover the bullet almost like fully intact inside of the barrel, okay? So the bullet did not break up. So both of these guns being the same distance. So I also shot it out of the handgun. I think the handgun, went 2 barrels, maybe 3 barrels. Okay, so the 9mm and the handgun went 3 barrels. So today I wanna test out the 223 in a 7.5-inch barrel. Now the question becomes, why use barrels? People normally don't live in barrels, or houses are not normally made out of barrels. Well, the barrels are a consistent medium. Okay, so and here's the thing: it's like, okay, you can expect that. Okay, I'm finding that like an AR-15 out of a 16-inch barrel, that bullet stops at about 3 barrels. If you're using sheetrock, I think you'll go something like 20 to 22 pieces of sheetrock. So it doesn't matter what you're using as a test, as long as it's a consistent medium, right? You can compare one type of ammunition to the other, okay? Now, one of the nice things I like about using the barrels is that I'm able to space them out. Because a lot of times when people do the penetration test, like the sheetrock test I've seen, they stack the sheetrock like one right after the other. And the problem with that is that space matters, okay? So normally houses have lots of space between rooms, right? There's space even inside of the sheetrock, right? There's usually 2 sides of sheetrock, and there's at least like something like 6 inches in between them. So what happens is, after the bullet goes through, it goes through the first barrier, as soon as it touches anything, it starts destabilizing a little bit, right? So as it destabilizes, it starts turning, okay, and that affects, when it goes into the 2nd, 3rd, 4th barrier, it's going in sideways, and it's losing a lot of that stability. And that's the reason why, like with 223, I can shoot those rims out there, right? 9mm just bounces off the rims, whereas 223 will penetrate the rim, okay? But when you're shooting the barrels, the 9mm out of a carbine actually penetrates more, okay? Because the space between barriers counts. Okay. By the way, when I tested it with, I think with the AK-47, that went to 4 barrels. Now I did try 308s and stuff like that. I think they went up to 4 barrels as well. What I think might have happened with the 308s is the bullet just got so unstable that when it came out of the 4th barrel, it kind of veered off to the sides a little bit, or maybe went down, and that's why maybe that's the reason why it only penetrated 4 barrels as well, right? Because you would think like a 308 would have a lot more penetrating power, but I was only able to see penetration through 4 barrels. So both with the 9mm, with the AK, with 308s, I think 4 barrels was as far as I got. So I'm gonna put this video was like, I think 4 or 5 years ago. So there's a chance I might not even be remembering 100% correct. I'm gonna find the video, and I'll post a link below in the comments so you guys can also check out that video. But let's do this test, and let's see how the 223 does out of the 7.5-inch barrel does against these barrels. Okay? So I'm just trying to line myself up over here. Low. So with that 7.5-inch barrel, 7.5-inch barrel AR, I double up on the ear protection because, you know, I shoot guns every day, and I find that it, you know, if I don't, I'm gonna lose my hearing. So, I'm just gonna put this here. So nice hole there. Come out here real nice. All right. By the time they get to the second one, they're turning. And it seems like they're dropping. Yeah, I got hits here, but no penetration. No penetration there. Take you guys up, show you guys a closer look. Stand. Let me bring you guys in. All right, so you know, really nice clean holes here. You can tell the difference obviously between the new holes and the old holes. These are from like 4 years ago. You can see how these had keyholed. You know, I remember which position this barrel was in. But when in there, all right, came out over here, you can kind of see the starting to keyhole a little bit already, right? You see how the holes have already opened up. Now, mind you, these barrels over here are thin enough that you can shoot these with a 22 long rifle out of a pistol will penetrate both sides of this barrel, okay? So this is fairly thin material. 22 long rifle out of a pistol with like a 4-inch barrel will penetrate both sides. I mean, it won't go much further beyond that, but it will penetrate it. So you can see we've got clear keyholing here, and the holes here are also starting to deform, right? Right? You know, nothing like what we saw in the front over here, right? So let's go to the second barrel. Again, these are about 15 feet apart, and the space matters, okay? So over here in the second barrel, yeah, clearly they're going inside with the keyholing. No penetration there, all right? So it failed to penetrate there. Keyholed over there. Keyholed over there. Okay. Let's go to the back side here. Right there. All right. And I noticed that they're dropping. They're going lower and lower because they're losing the velocity. So they're dropping. Almost no penetration there. I'm not even sure if that came through. Definitely came in sideways on that one, but definitely impacting the lower part of the barrel. Okay, and as I was shooting this, right, what I did is I was shooting it upwards, right? So I started like near the bottom and kind of shot my way up, you know, taking into consideration that the fact that you know the bullets were going to be losing velocity and dropping. So as I was shooting up, here you go. No penetration, just basically scratch. I mean, it dented it. No penetration. So we got 3 hits here. No penetration. I'm kind of wondering if the bullets had actually hit the ground and bounced up a little bit too. that is a possibility because looks like we got hits towards the bottom, and it kind of makes me wonder how the hits that came out towards the bottom impact high. Let's shoot this one more time. I'm going to mark this one. I'm going to pause this. I'm going to mark these holes with a marker. Let's shoot it again one more time. Let me pause this. All right, let's do this one more time. I did get a chance to look at those hits a little bit better. I seriously doubt that the ones that hit low hit the ground and bounced up, because the way that they're coming out of the bottom is kind of off to the sides. So it's more likely, I mean, when they came out, they bounced off into the woods rather than straight back. Okay, so the angle just isn't there for that to happen. So I do not believe that they bounced up and hit. Those are actually, I believe that those are the bullets that came through. Let's try this one more time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try and basically I'm going to try not to put all the bullets in one hole. I'm going to try to run a line so that if they're dropping, we can at least see what's going on a little further back. Yeah, anytime you're shooting these 7.5-inch barrels, you gotta have double up on your ear protection if you want to enjoy shooting. Actually, let me take a quick look down and see what's going on. Hold up there. It doesn't look like I got any hits on that third barrel this time. So those are the new holes, right? The ones with the circles are down here. These are the new ones that kind of walked up a little bit. I guess you see the exits over here. So you can see how they're definitely, like, these aren't, you know, they're keyholing out the back. Okay, so even though this barrel is like pretty thin, like a 22 will penetrate it on both sides, they're already keyholing, you know. So as far as like a home defense situation, I mean, this is, you know, this, you know, a lot of people say that the 5.56 or 223 out of a 7.5-inch barrel is just, it's going slow, and it's just going to make like little ice pick holes. It's not going to make a little ice pick holes. It's going to go side, you know, after initial impact, it's gonna be going sideways. Right? You can see how they're coming out, the keyholing out the back over here. Okay, and that's, you know, with just air in between, right? There's just air in between. Obviously, with a human body, there's a lot of tissue in between. So after that initial, because here it's like it hits here, it destabilizes, and then it starts tumbling on its way out to here. If this was like filled in with with soft tissue, it would have been tumbling all the way through. So back here, and I did mark the old holes with the circles, right? So we got new hole. Look at the size of that hole, right? You know, that's from it going in sideways. Over here, sideways, right there, sideways. So, see anything in there? When yeah, you can see the new holes over here. See over here? Hit here, stopped. So on the second barrel, like, it's barely making it through because that hit there and it stopped over here. That's a new impact over there. Didn't penetrate on the way out. So those are penetrations. So it's kind of iffy, right? It's iffy as to whether or not it's gonna make it out of the second barrel. Okay, and if it does make it, it's like it's coming out really ugly. See how it's coming out sideways, ripping that barrel open, right? Those are from earlier, right? So they're coming out really, really ugly. And this time, to my surprise, actually nothing. I see no new marks on the third barrel. So we're gonna say that it is only, we can reliably expect it to only get to 2 barrels over here. So this tells us, you know, so I mean, you can substitute layers of sheetrock over here, you know, and for this, you know, for this video to really make any sense, you have to go back and look at the other video that I did and compare it against the penetration against the AR that had the 16-inch barrel, you know, and other guns that I shot. Actually, is that a piece of fragment there? Actually, yeah, look. There's a little piece of fragment right there. Look. Little piece. It's sitting right there in the corner. Not a whole lot of fragment. When I shot the 6-inch barrel, in the third barrel, because almost all of them made it into the third barrel, but they weren't making it out the back of the third barrel. And when I looked in the third barrel, I was able to see lots of fragmentation down there. You know, so yeah, I mean, hold on, let me pause this and put this down. So it's kind of as I suspected, but I wasn't sure until I actually did the test. I mean, yeah, the 223 coming out of here only has 640 foot-pounds of energy. Okay, the hole going in, yeah, that's gonna ice pick, but because the bullet's going is already going slow, as soon as it goes through that first barrier, we can clearly see that the bullets are destabilizing and starting to turn over. Okay, so that turning over, that tumbling and keyholing, that's gonna do a lot of damage. Okay, so it's you know, this will be something very nasty to get hit with, okay? Because they're gonna go in sideways, or at least no, going straight. They're gonna come out sideways, as you guys just saw on those barrels over there. And again, people are gonna argue, well, you should test this and test that. It doesn't matter what you're testing as long as you're using the same medium consistently, right? Like I could be using wood, like layers of wood, okay? I could be using layers of sheetrock. I could be using ballistic gel. So no, there's lots of people that do tests on ballistic gel. The problem that I find with ballistic gel is that it just looks at that one perspective of that first impact. Okay, it doesn't consider what happens when it goes through subsequent barriers. Like, you know, what happens, you know, when it goes through a couple of layers, how far is it going to go? So this type of a test, where you have barriers that are spaced like 15 feet apart, which is something along the lines of how a house is set up, that kind of gives you some information there that I think is useful. But it also tells us, like, across one barrel, right? The barrel being, you know, I mean, obviously it's not the width of a human, but again, there's a lot of empty space in there. But we can see that nice, neat hole in. It comes tumbling out the back. I suspect that it would do the same. It would do something very nasty on a human being. So there's some information for you, raw data. You know, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Check out the older video I'll post below, and let me know what you guys think. Talk to y'all soon.